if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is, we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good morning and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam. On this, it's getting warm. I hate the summer. I think I've been vocal about this. I am not a summer guy. I don't like the heat. I prefer the cold. If you give me winter, I'm thrilled because in the winter you can keep putting on layers. In the summer, there's only so much you can do without getting hit with an indecent exposure. So, can't stand the summer, and also I overheat very quickly, which doesn't help either. Um, Now we get on to Gen 4, which I think this is the beginning of the Pokemon franchise. I don't want to say getting misguided, but the start of some increasingly weird decisions that we see ramifications of in the future. This is kind of the beginning of the flooding of the what's it called? What's I look for here? Like when we start flooding out uh, the legends and the pseudo legends and all of that, because you get Dialga, you get Palkia, you get your third with Giratina, you get Shaman, who is an event Pokemon, you get Arceus, who is an event Pokemon, you get who is the other one? The Darkrai, who's an event Pokemon. You get Heatran, who's just kind of there. You have Regigigas, who is being added to the Regis. You have hang on, let me bring up the full list. Manaphy, you have Fion. There are a lot of legends in this game, and I'm not saying that there being a lot of legends is necessarily a bad thing, but it starts to become a little overwhelming, and this is the beginning of that. On top of that, this is also the beginning of everything being tied together in the story. I think this is the point where the story gets outlandish. Like, last time you have the Pokemon trainers, the bad guys, they want to expand the sea. They want to expand they want to expand the ocean. Like, it's okay, cool, I guess. Like, laws of physics be damned. That's the plan here. This is where you get he wants to recreate the universe in his own image, and it's like, okay, cool. So the bad guy is Thanos, and he's gonna create the red chain to use that to unleash, Dialga or Palkia, depending on your version, which will let him recreate the universe in his image and be God. And it's like, cool, got it. This guy's insane. Um, and like I understand what they're going for. I totally get what you're going for here. Doesn't mean it works. Um, the other thing that I want to point out with this game is I think mechanically it's a step back. I understand that this is the transition to the DS and the first time they're really doing 3D graphics, but the game runs very slowly. Both games run very slowly. Um, and I think that is to the detriment of the games. Um, I think that there is a commitment to some of the features of the 3DS or of the DS that are, that make things a little bit worse. Like the whole thing with the odd keystone to get Spiritomb, just atrocious design. It's good that they've made Spiritomb easier to catch in later games, but just here it's just a slog. Um, I do like a lot of the add-on Pokemon, the new forms for earlier ones. I think Sylveon and not Sylveon, Glaceon and Leafeon are great. Weavile is a great addition to Sneasel, or Sneasel, however you pronounce it. I think the addition of Magmortar and this is the beginning of like, why are some getting new forms but not others? Like Magmortar and Electivire both exist and they get new forms, but why doesn't Jinx get one? Which we end up seeing later down the line with Mega Evolutions as well. Um, and Electivire, not Electivire, Magnezone is cool. Like Gliscor is really cool. Like a lot of these designs are just really awesome. This is the beginning where you get people complain about over designed, um, but I disagree. I think a lot of it really works. That said, not a huge fan of some of the quote unquote domestic designs in this game. Not a huge fan of like Chatot. Not a huge fan of like who was the other one? Like Carnivine. Not a huge fan of. There are a lot. I do like the starters, but a lot of the ones don't work. The surf is so slow, and the amount you have to use surf in this game is annoying. I think defog as a mechanic is not nearly as good as Flash, and I think that it feels like it's trying to be different for the sake of being different, um, while doing basically the same thing. It's just kind of like the fog weather effect is not good, and adding a weather effect to something is just kind of weird. Um, and it's just like, well, why did you change it in the first place? There's no real good reason for that. Um, Surf mechanic is very slow. I think these are the least memorable of the gym leaders, though that could just be me not playing this game as much as some of the other ones. Um, because immediately, like, the quintessential game from this generation is not even um, platinum. It's fire. It's ruby. It's not ruby and sapphire. It's heart gold, soul, silver. So it's just kind of a little different and a little bit weird, and it's just kind of like, why would you do this? Um, but look, I think these are enjoyable games, and for the time they are fine. But I think of any game, these are the ones that as I go through this series and do these randomized ones on YouTube, these are the games that I'm looking forward to the least. And I will point out the exact region of the map that makes me not want to do that. It is the route directly north of Mount Coronet that is up near Snow Point City. That entire part of the game is the thing that I'm like, I am dreading going back to Sinnoh because the movement is so slow along that route where the snowstorm is. And it's like, why was this something you decided was a good idea? Why was this something that, got passed as far as it did? That said, I think that the Battle Frontier area, it's not a Battle Frontier, I think it's just a Battle Tower in this. Um, oh no, there was a Battle Frontier. Hang on. Yes, it is just a tower in this game. I think that tower is not great either. Um, which is a shame because it's like it could have been something cool, but it's just not handled that well. Um, oh, and there was another really dumb mechanic in it. I forgot Cresselia. And I forgot the three little pixie dudes, but I think that's all of them. The way they handle contests in this game is a huge step back from the last generation. I think that this generation's contesting doesn't feel quite as rewarding as a process, and I think it's a lot less fun as you're doing it. Um, and there was one other really dumb thing in this generation. They're like, why the fuck? Oh, Pal Park. The way you transfer Pokemon is just so stupid. And the Great Marsh, too. Like, the Great Marsh is dumb. Let's just get that out of the way. The Great Marsh is incredibly stupid because the Great Marsh, the way that works is you have to go, into this area and you have to walk through this marsh and you keep getting stuck and it's just a pain in the ass to deal with. I hate that whole section. That's number one. Number two, Pal Park. You can only transfer 6 Pokemon a day. Completely arbitrary stupidity they have set there. I don't know why that like I don't know why that was a limitation that they set up artificially. I don't know what they were afraid of. Um, it is. Oh no, it's 6 at a time, not six. It's just silly. I don't understand why that was why that was a good anyone thought that was a good decision. Um, it's just silly, and I think too it's like doubling down on the I do like the introduction of the you know the where you are based evolutions. I hate that they doubled down on the trading with items. And I like the new stones though. But there's a lot that goes into that. Um, I do think too there is a big mistake that gets made in this game, and that is namely that I think that they should have had it where what's it called? Where and it's not this game's fault. It's a later game down the line. We'll talk about it when we get to that game. But this should have been the point at the beginning where we start integrating in the Pokédex in a way where it's more logic. It makes more logical sense. We as players like are the ones who are looking at the Pokédex and being like, well, why is it that it's out of order? Like it makes sense in this game that it'd be out of order because you're making these discoveries in you know in Sinnoh. But like, why is it that as these new evolutions are popping up, why are they not being tacked on with the Pokemon? Like, it's one of those weird things where it's like, let's go have the opportunity to fix that, but it just didn't. And it's like, well, why is why is Nidoran male and female two different Pokemon? And besides technical limitations of the original, like, why are they still two different Pokemon? Especially since now we have divergent evolution chains introduced in this game. Like, because Burmy evolves into two different Pokemon depending on what gender it is. Um, and Combee can evolve as one gender, can't evolve as the other. Like, now that we have divergent evolutions based on gender, why is Nidoran still two different Pokemon? Why is it when we get the national decks, why are these not integrated in a more meaningful way where it's like, why is Togekiss not the entry right after Togetic? Why is it not like in that original 150 modified where it's now a 3-line Pokemon for Pikachu, a 3-line Pokemon for Electabuzz. Like, it's just a odd choice all around. I'm not entirely sure why. Like, this is the beginning of them making the choice to not do that in a way where it's like you can kind of buy it in Gen 2, even though with the benefit of hindsight, it's like, how the fuck did these professors not know how Pokemon breed? Where it's like, holy fuck, they have eggs. Like, how does it get to that point where it's like no one figured this out before this point? It's just kind of a little weird. Um, I just don't get it. And I don't think they give a good enough reason in the game either. Um, that said, I think this is not the worst of the mainline game, which is how we're going to phrase this. Um, we're going to go by our rankings, which we've talked about before. We have our rankings where we rank every Pokemon game along the system. I think the technical issues with this game make this inherently where it cannot be a 5. Let's just get that out of the way right now. This cannot be a 5. I would be hard pressed to say this is a 4. Um, so if it is a 4, I think it is like in the same boat as like Gold and Silver and Crystal, where it's like I don't think those are great games because of the technical issues that live within them. And in that case, the technical issues are you are dealing with a game that you know is not level scaled properly. Like that's the big issue with Gold and Silver is that the level scaling is not great, and that is a technical issue that kind of plagues them. Um, in this one, you have kind of similar issues, but with like key traversal things not working right. The key traversal in the game, walking, is throttled when you're trying to get through the snow. And considering how much of the game you are spending trying to get through the snow, that's a big slog. And that's a big, issue to have. Similarly, on the other side of things, there's the surfing issue. The surfing is way too slow. And considering how much surfing you have to do, namely to get to like the town where the sixth badge is, and to also get where what's it called is, and to get to the Elite Four, it's a lot of surfing to be done, and you're doing it at a very slow pace. Like, there's a lot of surfing in Ruby and Sapphire, but you move so quick, you don't feel it. It's not a problem. And then even like I'm playing through Red, and in the most recent episode that I recorded, I haven't put it up yet because we're still way far back from that. Like, I'm doing a lot of surfing because I'm going to the Cinnabar Island. Like, you don't feel the amount of time you're surfing when you go to Cinnabar Island because you're moving quickly. Because you're moving so slow here, it becomes a chore. It becomes a hassle. It becomes a bigger issue than it ever needed to be. And that's kind of a lot of the issue that I have with this. Um, so looking at what we have in the fours, we have gold. We have yellow at the bottom of four. We have gold and silver. We have crystal. And then at the top of four, and then the lowest after that is fire red and leaf green, which is a 5. Now, I think the other thing is, too, in a lot of ways, this is a step back from the previous generation, just in general. In terms of other things. Performance-wise, it doesn't perform as well. Um, on a technical level, like gates, you are constantly gated from getting into different areas, where, by and large, for Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, you are not. And the only reason you have that in Fire Red and Leaf Green is because there's some level of fidelity to red, blue, and yellow. And then when you get to like the Sevi Islands, it's like it opens up in a big way where you don't have constant gates to get places, um, which is kind of an interesting way to look at it. This, you're gated constantly. Everything is gated into a new area, and I get why it just feels kind of sloggy at times. And also, I don't think the Pokemon distribution is that good. I'm talking myself down into the 3. I will say this is up till now, the worst games we've had so far. I will say this goes down below Red and Blue at our new number 16 in the 3 rank. Diamond and Pearl are now the new 16. So to go through our rankings as we go, number 23, Hey You, Pikachu, number 22, Pokemon Dash, number 21, Pokemon Pinball, number 20, Pokemon Channel, number 19, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, Pokemon Puzzle League, number 18, the trading card game for the Game Boy Color, number 17, Trozy, number 16, number Diamond and Pearl, number 15, Red and Blue, number 14, Stadium, number 13, Stadium 2, number 12, Snap. Number 11, Yellow version. Number 10, Gold and Silver. Number 9, Crystal. Number 8, Ranger. Number 7, Ruby and Sapphire Pinball. Number 6, Fire Red and Leaf Green. Number 5, Coliseum. Number 4, XD. Number 3, Ruby and Sapphire. Number 2, Emerald. Number 1, Mystery Dungeon, Blue Rescue Team, Red Rescue Team. Next week we'll be talking about Platinum. The week after that we'll be talking about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The week after that, Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Darkness, and then Mystery Dungeon Explorers of the Sky. But we'll wrap up there for today as we cruise on through this list. Um, uh, I it's interesting. I'm curious as I go through this list and I look at what we have to go through. I wonder if when we get to the end of this, it will be in time where it's synchronized that we get to do what's it called? We get to do immediately the arrival of what's that other big game? Legends Z-A. But we'll wrap up there for today. Later this week we'll be talking about Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Later this week we will also be talking about Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon for the Switch. But until then, have a great rest of your week.